So, a new location. I probably won't be able to sit here for very long because this is kind of a not relaxing. So I probably won't do very long on this, which is probably a good thing. Most people are probably going, yeah, we don't need you long. We don't want you to have a long experience. Just turning off my other stuff. I've got this little globe sitting here. I think it's fascinating. We'll change colors. See if that gets in there. See if you can see the colors. If it always looks white, it'll be interesting. Oh yeah. When you don't. Can you see it changing colors? Well, it looks more. I can see it changing colors. So maybe I'll take it out of focus because it only looks like a white ball. Or not all the way in focus. Put it like kind of just out of focus. But anyway, yeah. I was watching some videos on near-death experiences, and I just thought, I haven't had that kind of experience. I'm not going to give any viewpoints on that particular side of things, or nothing definitive. But then it just made me wonder, it's like, how often do we actually go through something like that and we don't even know it because it's not medically proven, or because there's nothing specific about the experience that makes it so you can prove that you were clinically dead? Because that's kind of like a proponent or a component of a near-death experience, is that it's provable. Because other people just experiencing stuff and they're just like, well, no, you could have just imagined that all. It's just your overactive imagination. Could be. But just made me wonder if maybe some of these other things that are just really wild that we might have, like some of the dreams we have are so very different than other dreams. Like most dreams are very there's a commonality, like a sort of like a warped mind kind of thing about it. And then there's these more vivid dreams that are just so much more. I don't know. It's there's something more about them. They're very, very real. They feel very real. They're easier to remember. They're more memorable, I guess. I don't know if that's common to other people, but I just feel like for me personally, there's a point in my life when I decided I was going to record as many dreams as I could. And it's like it wasn't just a start. I just I got to that point from, I don't know, like watching other people talk about dreams, and why don't I try to remember and there's even college classes that they'll go into this, where they'll have their students record their dreams, and they'll give them like a sort of pattern, like set something beside your bed so that you can quickly write it down, because if you don't write it down, you're going to forget you had it, or even just something about the dream to make it so that you get into this practice. Because I'm not saying this is the same for everybody, but this is kind of a commonality that works for people. It's like you put that kind of practice into your mind, like, I want to remember my dreams. You feel like you put that importance in it, that I need to remember my dreams, and you actually do something physical to make it so that it is easier, so that you're not put off by little things like, I don't want to turn on the light, or I don't have a paper right by my bed right now, or there's like some excuse that makes it easier to go, I don't need to do that. That's not important. So when we do this kind of thing, like we put it, like you take away all those excuses, or you take as many away as you can. It makes it easier for your body to get into that sort of mindset of, I need to remember, this is important, I'm going to do it. So anyway, there was like a period of time where I did that, and I even have it still on a blog spot. There's a blog spot that I have that still has these dreams. I wrote them down and put it on there. Um, and it's like I go back and I'll review it from time to time. At least I think it's still there, or it was still there the last time I looked, which was like a few months ago. And I just thought, this is interesting. It's like, but it was only 2 weeks, because one thing I discovered. Well, there's several things I discovered, but there's one thing is that you don't feel rested. You do not feel rested. You get a lot of dreams, but you don't feel rested. It's like there's something about needing to let go that's kind of important. So yes, the dreams are interesting, and yes, my sort of analysis of the kinds, because I classify dreams into 3 different categories, like common dreams, not these weird ones that are another kind of thing. It's like, so there's one like your brain is processing things that you're going through the day. You can kind of identify those. There seems to be a commonality among them. It's just and you'll hear other people talk about the similar kinds of things, and they'll be like, you're on a road trip, and it's just like the road is under construction. You just keep trying to get to some location, but there seems to be some little interruption there, or something similar. Like you're in a shop and you're trying to buy something, and you're always looking for that perfect item. You can't ever find that perfect item. You're looking and you're looking. It's like dreams like those, and there's just like your brain is processing stuff, and it's just trying to figure out. Because if you figure out how to interpret these dreams, you realize that is all it is. It's just trying to figure out, trying to process. Your brain is still processing. That's not all the dreams. That's not all the dreams. There's other dreams where well, at least for me, it's like I'm in somebody else, or I'm haunting somebody else. And I just thought that was a very weird sort of takeaway. Because it's like, it made me wonder, like, what are we? Like, and what do people consider ghosts? And I go, like, maybe that's what it is somebody who's asleep, and they're just, that's one possibility. And I think, like, you're not malicious, and it's like there's something to remote viewing that seems to come to mind in this. It's like, gives it more, like, you're somewhere. I mean, this isn't all dreams. Sometimes you don't go anywhere at all. I think, at least my own opinion, you don't go anywhere at all. But sometimes you're going somewhere, and you're just, why you're in this one place or another. But anyways, like, there's just some aspects that seem to be like I'm haunting somebody else. Like, they can see me, or they can sense me, and they're trying to get me away, or I'm trying to follow them, or it's like it's not even with other people. You could be just somewhere else completely. Like doing things like floating around and trying to, it's like it's weird kind of stuff. Because most people have those kinds of dreams where you're either moving more fluidly, or you're moving in a way that's just not natural to this to waking life, and they just happen. So there's so many dreams that I've remembered throughout my life that are like that, where it's just like I'm skating, with socks on, and I'm just able to skate on the ground wherever I'm at. It's just like that kind of fluid motion, but I can't move that way in real life. Or floating, or just have something that's able to make me float, like an umbrella. Like I'll have an umbrella in my hand, and it'll just float me around. It's like, you can't do that with an umbrella. Or something else that will help you move around. So I classify those kind of dreams like the ghost kind of dreams. Like you're floating, you're not really in your body, or at least that's how I take it. Is like you're not really, like your spirit has gone and floating around. And in the same, it's like you can be in somebody else's body, which is like, it's a weird kind of process, because you're sitting there experiencing their life, but you're having your own thoughts, but you can also sense their thoughts. And so you're looking at it, and it's like it's not the experience you would have if you were in that experience, because you know that you you know more about life than what this person is experiencing. It's like you want to help them, you want to, but you're not trying to manipulate them. Or I guess that there's some people who do try to manipulate others, and they will try to make the other person move. Um, but I still classify that in the same. It's like you're a ghost, you're a spirit, you're moving around. Um, and then there's the like you're just the experiencing some kind of weird whatever phenomenon. Like there's just something going on that's just very strange. It's like like it's not this. Um, like I don't know how to describe it. It's like it's not like a normal everyday like a waking life experience, and it's not quite like the movies, but it seems to have a more theatrical element to it. And I guess that kind of kind of goes with the last. Like I feel like the phenomenal dreams are just like whoa, because there's so much about it that's completely different than this reality. It's like it makes you go, I what do we believe in? Because it's just so much of a weird experience. Like I was like a fire being, like I was, or there was like rock beings and there was fire beings, and it's like we're but you're still an intelligent being. Like you can still communicate, you can still talk, you still have movement and whatnot, but just something completely different than this reality. And just what is that? Um, and so, and then there's like this last guy I was watching. He was talking about near death experiences, and he was talking about how there's light forces and there's dark forces. Like he saw this like these people that were just miserable, and they're kind of locked in a box. That's how he described it. As they're just locked in a box. And he's saying like you shouldn't be like, only God can free them. And I'm like, no, because God does not force anybody. Um, and I think that's a true, like you can say that that's like a belief in God, if you will, or something that's true to the, I guess you can say, the universe. It's like you can't force somebody else to believe something. You can't force their mentality. You cannot make them believe something they do not want to believe. You can try to convince them, you can try to inspire them, you can try to manipulate them. Gaslight is a big word that's used a lot these days. Like that's people go into, they really like that's a different level of manipulation in my mind, my own opinion. It's there's something more intensely bad about it than just trying to get somebody to do something they don't want to do. And I think that's why gaslighting is like a term that's used, even though it's not technically gaslighting. Because if you look at how the term gaslighting came about, it's like you're going through some serious like over several years trying to get this person, like you have a very very malicious intent on convincing that person of something that is not reality. So that's where the real term gaslighting comes from. Is like using gas in the lights to convince somebody that's a different time than what it really was, or that something was lit when it really wasn't, or that it was a different. Over several years, though, this person did it to really manipulate this person. That's a different level. That most people aren't that level of malicious. But it's like with these people that are locked in this, they you could try to free them, you could try to explain to them, you could try to help them, and they won't. They'll just try to suck you into their. It's like, no, no, I don't. So, in my opinion, even in real life, it's like you feel like there's people who are trying to suck you into their delusion, and I try to make sure that when I catch myself doing this kind of thing, like I just, no, no, walk away, don't want that, don't want to be that person. But it feels like it comes pretty, like you do it without thinking. You don't actively try to do that kind of thing. You're just, for whatever reason, you get into that whatever kind of state, and you do it without knowing that that's what you're doing, until you catch yourself doing it, or you tell something makes you realize that you're doing that. It's like that's why we need this state of living, this state of reality, to work those kinds of things out. So you figure out where you want to be. Like, do you want to be in this state of mind or that state of mind? And I think understanding that, like, that's why we have this state of reality, is to work on those kinds of things. And there's more. It's not just that. It's just like that. I think is a significant component, and that's not explained in any religion. I mean, kind of, sort of, like, be morally responsible, have some sense of morality. I mean, that's what a sort of organized religion way of looking at it would explain it. Like, but they have a sort of like another manipulative, like it's still sucking you into it, but they would consider it their moral. It's like you want to be in this sphere of morality, or this group with us, and it's like when you find out that you don't like everything about what they're doing, then you go, I don't exactly believe everything that you believe. And it's like people want to be these tribes and these groups, and say, when you're in tribe, when you're in a group, and then that makes you more, like you have that group fight. And yes, there's something to that. There is something to that. When you're in a group, you have less chance of being attacked, because once you have your group, you can have your friends, your people that you rely on to help. There's something to that. I won't deny that there's something strong to that. But when it gets too compelling that you just don't like following the group, like there's something about like you can see where the group is heading, and you kind of feel like, I don't know if that I want to go that way, or I don't want to be in that. I don't know that I want to be there with that. And that's just a way of, for me, looking at it. And that may not be the way that other people look at it. They may like that. They may be important enough for them. And I'm trying to move around so my foot doesn't fall asleep, or my foot is falling asleep, so I've got to move around. There, that'll work for a bit. May have to make this a little. Well, I'm sitting on my bed. That may not be the best thing to do, because it does create dents in your bed that you may not like. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work for now. Okay. So let me move this back up. So it gets to feeling like, I'm seeing my Legos up there. I like these those type of more adult Legos. They're like 16-year-old, but that's what they say on the packaging. Like, you don't always have to trust what year, because there's some kids that are a lot more advanced than what the age says. But still, that's a guideline. Like age things are. But I feel like that's like the same thing important with life too. It's like there's a lot of things that are just guidelines. They are not set in stone. You don't have to follow them just because somebody else determined that. And I think that's true of a lot of rules, a lot of even laws, country laws and whatnot. If you watch other people, they don't follow the rules or the laws. And that's just coming from an autistic person. Like it's been a hard struggle for me to accept that you don't have to follow the rules exactly. The rules are not there to be followed strictly, or like righteousness and perfection is something that's it's a guideline, and it comes naturally to other people. But for me, and I think this is kind of an autistic brain kind of thing, is it's like you take it more of it exactly like they set it out, and it's really hard to accept that that's not really the case. That there is you can there's more reality, and this whole thing is like understanding that's like what's helped me to accept some of these other things. It's like there's no real right or wrong answer to what happened after life. It's like the whole thing is like a mind construct, a construct of the mind, and it's kind of hard to kind of grasp, like with our how we live in reality. It's like thinking that this is all a mind construct. It's like the whole thing is just, again, to help us figure out things. Like that's just what I feel like this life is for, to help figure things out. Like, so when people are talking about more of their spiritual experience and going, it's like I found that was a trouble I had with yoga. I was into yoga for a while until I realized that they weren't about living and accepting realities of this life. They were about trying to make this life more of a spiritual experience. And I'm like, I'll tell you what. So I was reading a book, and it was giving all these cleansing practices. Like they go into some pretty. I'm not gonna explain all of them, but it's just like they'll take a string, they'll dip it in salt water, and they'll put it in the nose. They'll like thread it through the nose and through the throat, and it's supposed to clean that area, and like you both do both nostrils, clean the ears, clean the esophagus. They'll have things that go all the way down, and other areas, which I'm not gonna. It just it got to a point where I'm like, that doesn't seem very, because again, autistic mind, you can take this to the extreme. And if you're an autistic, or you know somebody who's autistic, they tend to take this to an extreme. They'll go through all the things like, I could do things with my eyes, and I need to like cleanse out all the pores in my body, and I can clean all the hair and all the. There's not an end to just how deep and how far you can go with that. I'm like, no, stop. So I brought myself to a conclusion like, no, I'm not here to have a spiritual experience. And other people have said this. This has been like a common thing. Like, so it's not just a me coming, like this is something that's, whoa, but it's like other people have come to this conclusion. Like, life is not to have a spiritual. You're here to have a physical experience. Like, that's important for this life, to live the life. And it's not so you experience all things, like it's not so you try every drug and try every I call them bad behaviors, because like they're things that it just, you know they're bad, and you know by even just how much you look at it, you go like, no, no thanks, I don't want to do that. Like I don't need to climb mountains, I don't need to jump out of planes, I don't need to have all these experiences. I'm not saying that they're bad for other people. That may be what they need to go through. That may be something, again, any of this, it's like, but for me it's like, no, my focus on this experience is the mental side of things, like how to get my mind in a good state, how to keep it in a good state. So like for me it's like horror stories, and like watching scary movies, and like things like that. And even some of the, like I like some of these like yoga things, like you can get so much into it and then you feel like your body's being, it feels darker and darker. To me that's a sign that if I get into that, like I feel that coming, that's a sign that no, I need to step away from that, because it just feels like I'm getting grasping into a, or mentally delusion. It's like stepping into a different kind of delusion. um, and to me it's like, and I've not done anything remotely like as far as what people talk about with drugs and stuff. It's um like even just taking painkillers, I can feel that there's some kind of like it sucked into some delusional mindset. um Again, I'm not giving anybody medical advice, not telling anybody what things they should do or not do. I mean, I'm not doing that just as a caveat. I'm really saying that it is not my purpose to tell other people how they are supposed to. It's just to present, hey, if you're taking ideas from this, that hey, maybe I need to figure out something different, then that's what I consider my like a good takeaway for me. Is like I was watching this guy who was talking about like past lives and experiences, and he seems to be like let's see if I can find his name, because I've seen him quite a lot on YouTube these days. Give me a second to see. I'll look through my past history. But I was just see Matias de Stefano. Yeah, Stefano. Yeah, it's like I know Spanish, so but I can't see if there's a. I can't see if the accent is on the A. His last name, Stefano, or is it Stefano? I know it's Matias de Stefano. Um, he has a lot of, like he's gotten pretty popular. I see him a lot more on my YouTube For Me page. Um, and I'm just like, I don't agree with all the things he says, but there's takes away. I can take away like, oh yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at that. Oh, that opens my mind to different things. So that's like if I if I can take away stuff from other people, then maybe somebody can take away something from my experience, and that's kind of what I feel like is important. It's like that's like me just being me in my closeted space, and like being an autistic person, don't like dealing with other people. Like just calling it an introvert just feels wrong. It's like when I was growing up, just like introvert. It's like I like being in a mall and watching people. I don't want to interact with them, but I like being there watching them. And I don't want to be like creepy. Like I've stopped, and I won't go to those kinds of things to do that, because I feel like it is kind of creepy, just somebody that's sitting there watching other people. But when I am in those kinds of environments, I feel like like when I'm with somebody else, or when I'm like happen to be with family, or it's like I can enjoy being out there among people. So being a hermit, that sometimes sounds very appealing to me, but then I go, but I like being around other people. I just don't want to always interact with them. Um, so that sounds like not exactly introvert, and but it's also this, like, if I learn those people, if I like, I don't feel like, what is it? It's like there's a tolerance. Like I feel like I'm watching a somebody else play sports, or when I'm even playing sports myself. It's like I have like a 10-minute tolerance or a 15-minute tolerance, and then I'm done, and I'm like completely done, and I want to stop. Um, but like interacting with people is like, there's times when I just shut down, completely done, don't want to be there anymore. But I also feel like, when I am engaging with people that I know, like I feel like I can last longer. Like I feel like I'm having an influence on them. Like if I feel like the exchange is having a positive between the two of us, like it's having a positive experience on them and me, then that's something I like doing, and I like doing it enough where I will look for those kinds of experiences. So it's not exactly an introvert, and I think this is kind of true for a lot of people. Like if you feel like when you get into these certain situations, you can last a lot longer than you would normally. But like when it's new people, you have no idea what they like, and you feel like you're testing out or looking for, and you feel like there's more negative things than positive things, or just unknowns. Then that's when there's just too many unknowns. I don't want to be there. Get me away. Um, it's like where I work in retail. It's like helping customers. I love it. I love it when a customer comes to me, and I and I know how to help them, and I can help them. That I love doing that. But I don't want to go out of my way to help them, and I don't want them to suck me into their delusion. Like I'm only there to serve them, and they're there to, like, I'm like, my purpose there is just to do whatever for them. Like I feel like that's a bad mentality. Um, but there's plenty of people that's not what they're there. They want to find the item they want. They are looking for something. They want this, and they're just wanting somebody to either point out the right direction, or if you can, go and get it. Um, but again, it's like that's going to be different for different people. There's um, but that brings me to another point. It's like I was a missionary. It's like I had this missionary experience with my church, and it's kind of one of the reasons why I eventually stopped going to church. Because being a missionary, it's like for an autistic person. You think about what a missionary does. They're going out meeting new people all the time. And that was torture. And I didn't know I was autistic at the time. I didn't know that that's why I was having problems. Like I hated and it's like it was like some kind of cognitive dissonance, because you're supposed to have this really spiritual experience. You're supposed to out there and get involved, and you're supposed to feel the spirit. And it's like all these religious type of terms that come. It's like you're supposed to feel good, and you're supposed to, like, it's like supposed to easily feel enthusiastic about doing the work. It's like, and you yes, you can get, like, even really positive people can get really down on themselves in this kind of work. But I just felt like I never felt good. It's like meeting new people all the time was horrible. But I had other deep experiences that just, would I go through that pain to have these experiences? No. No. No, I would not go through that again, even if it was to get these good experiences out of it. It's like, no. Um, so I mean, there's something about that, but like these kinds of experiences, like I remember things about before coming to this life, and so when people talk about past lives, I'm going, there's something odd about using that terminology. It's like, well, but I remember things. It's like, but it's and I just I'm not trying to convince anybody else on how they're supposed to believe. It's like I think there are different ways of thinking about things, but from just in my personal, I don't believe in past lives. I'm not trying to tell other people you can't believe that. I'm not trying to tell other people you can't convince me of it. There's something to it. Like what they're remembering is real, or at least it's real for them. And there's been enough like evidence to prove that they do know something. They're getting something that is actually actionable. But it's like with most things psychic related, you can't depend on it. You can't trust it all the time because it's not always reliable. Um, but there's enough to it that it's not completely false. That's I guess the main takeaway I get from it. It's not completely false, and so I'm not trying to tell other people you can't believe that way or that's completely false, and I'm not going to you mention the word past lives, and I'm going to completely turn off because that's not the kind of person I am. People can believe. There only certain things that will turn me off, and that's when I feel like when I know that you're purposely trying to manipulate me into something that I don't want to do. That turns me off. And why I've had trouble dating is it just feels like that's a manipulation game, and like you feel like from the very get-go, either I'm trying to manipulate or they're trying to manipulate, and it just I can't wrap my mind around where there's a good uh, where there's a good outcome for that. It's like, sure, you can people get through that and they find somebody good to be with. That happens so often that sure. But I've seen people who supposedly meant to be like they have such a good experience together, but they even those good experiences fall apart. Like I've seen lots of I mean like the last 4 and 5 years has been really interesting, and the number of breakups and the kind of like people who you just think are just they work so well together. How could they break up? And again, not trying to say they shouldn't have broken up. I'm not in that. I'm not involved enough in these people's lives to know all of the details. But just from an outsider perspective, it just seems like that's sad. Um, but from another perspective, it's like I'm glad I didn't try harder to date, or that I haven't tried more to get out there, that I haven't put myself through this kind of like. To me, it's hell. To me, that is hell. Everything about the dating experience, even 10, 20 years ago, was just hellish. Another sort of church. Like I've been thinking about sharing this, so it's like it's been on my mind. So I'm going to share it now. It's like when I was 16, the bishop in my ward. So I grew up Mormon, LDS. For those who know that, and it's like a bishop is over like about 100 to 200 people congregation. And so like there's other churches, denominations have different, like a bishop would be something different, like different level over a different hierarchy. But for the Mormon church, it's like A bishop is somebody who's directly over 100 to 200 people. Just to give a sort of an explanation for those who don't know. So he was stepping down. So he was giving a farewell address to the people. So just, I'm not going to get into all of that. I'm just like, the point that involves me, because it did involve me. I was 16. That's like a strong dating age. Like that's when you're supposed to encourage and start dating, at least even in church standards. And he was promoting me as the most viable candidate for dating. It's like he was promoting like all the mothers should open me with arms to date their daughters, kind of thing. It was along those lines. Like, I'm saying it kind of off, but I was thinking completely different mindset at that, because I was in a spot on that day where I was looking out over the congregation when he was saying it, and so I was watching the people when he was talking about me, and I wasn't sitting there like cringing and feeling embarrassed that he was talking about. I was looking at the people going, this is very odd. This is very odd. I am the least likely person to go on. I even knew it then. I am the least likely person to go on dates, and he's promoting me as the most viable candidate for dating. Like, there's no there. Even if you set like a line of girls up for me and say, go on dates with these girls. These girls are willing to date you. It's like I would have had trouble even then. Like there's something so very off about the whole dating practice that just doesn't feel right to me, and I can't explain it the right way. I know there's something autistic brain related to it. It's like, because it's just autistic brain. You can have a clear path from here to here. Like I'm going line, and then there's just like a little gap that you can't comprehend. It's like brain cells missing. That's how I kind of think about it. It's like there's some kind of brain cells missing in this area that makes it impossible to get from one to the other. It's like you can't keep going, you just drop. It's like it doesn't make sense why you can't get from all the way across. You can't keep going. It's just so this, and I think there's something that's just like malformed or just not quite working normal, that makes it like not just hard, but just almost impossible to get across that little gap. It's a little gap. It's like a little bit of misunderstanding, little bit of simple things for most people, just absolutely like the way the brain works, it rewires in different ways. So other things that are hard for most people are very easy for an autistic brain. It's like, why is that a trouble for most people? Or why do most people struggle with this? And it's different for most people. There's a different level of because there's like you have like what's called an idiot savant. Like they seem like they can't do a lot of things, but they can do really, really well on this and that. And like people who have like photographic memory, that kind of thing. It's like for normal people, even me, it's like I don't have a photographic memory. I can't just look at a page and remember it later, but I can understand that that's very possible. Like because the kinds of things that I can do, it's like I can understand computers really well. That seems to be a commonality among autistic brains. It's like they're very good with computers. I don't know if there's something in like the how like the radio frequency, how that informs the brain when you're forming in the womb, when you're a fetus. If that has an effect on this, and that's why it's become more prevalent why it's becoming more and more prevalent, why more and more people are ending up autistic. Like I kind of wonder if that's why, and there's like some kind of like like how the radio waves form, it kind of makes your brain more easily adaptable to computers. I don't know. It sounds reasonable. It sounds very reasonable to me. Like maybe that's why. But like a commonality for a lot of autistic people is, like connection with other people and like social sort of things. And it's like they're really good on this and this, but really, really bad like on this. Like why is that? And then like analyzing myself and my own brain and how that works and why it may be. And like for me, it makes some sense. Like I can make some sense of it. But even when I didn't know, it seems like knowing that I am autistic has woken me to like this is a commonality thing, and like I can figure this out, and like there isn't something wrong with me. It's just a different way of forming the brain. But anyway, least likely to promoting as like people like me. Even girls have liked me. Like even I mean, I was at work the other day, and I'm older guy. I'm an older guy. Like why do these young girls have an interest in me? I don't know. I don't know. It's like, and and I'm not trying to say like, hey, like every girl likes me, because I don't think that's the case. But I'm sitting there trying to rationalize and going, no, I'm not going to fall for somebody younger. Because I just feel like that's like, I want them to not just, am I cute? I guess some people think I'm cute. So that's a reason why. Let's put it that way. Like I'm cute enough. I don't come off offensive. Like I've got other attributes that are fairly decent. Like I'm decent to other people. I generally happy. I get angry a lot of times, and I do get very angry. But I try to go to that, because the happy place. I like the happy place. I like the being content in life. I don't like it my goal to try to make other people happy. Like that's not my goal. But like if I see somebody in need, like I want to try to help them, especially if I know them, and it's like I don't want them to struggle. If I can do something to help them out, then I like helping people in that sense of it. I don't want to be abused. I don't want them to suck me dry. I don't want them to like take everything from me, or like have my whole life going into doing things for them. Like I feel like there's something wrong about that. But it's like just in general, like people like me, so I want them to like the things in my head, the thoughts in my head. Like I find myself very attracted to other people's, in their brains and their thought processes and their way of thinking, and like especially if they're thinking like the same kind of way that I think. Like they want to help other people. They find like there's a purpose to life. Like there's something to live for, and like life is for living. And I feel like I want like people who spend a lot of their brain power trying to help figure out those kinds of things, like how to make life better. Not for everybody. I don't care about the whole world. I really don't. If I can do something, but I'm not in a position. I don't have that kind of influence, and if something I do, if this channel gets, like I see if I get so many likes, I will do this. It's like that would be the kinds of things that I would do if I had the view count or the like count or the influence on others. Then yeah, I have a great idea on what I would do to influence other people. It's like I would really want to take that spread that out into the world. That would be my focus. Is how to really change people, their mindset, not not force them, not manipulate them, not trying to, like, you need to buy into my beliefs. It's like like this guy I was talking about. It's like he's gotten a great following just because he has these ideas that are just so very not the normal idea. So he's gotten a lot of popularity for his ideas. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be so popular that I feel like I'm changing my ideas to keep getting more popular. I don't like that. I don't like that kind of. I would rather stay low key. Like if I could stay under 1 million views, that would be. I don't want 1 million views. I just want a few thousand. And I say that with that kind of laugh because it's like you hear people like, I just want I just want $1 million. Just $1 million. Just that's all. I don't want 10 million. I don't want 100 million. I just want 10 million. Or I just want 1 million. Like, just give me a 1 million, please. I'm laughing because that's so silly. Because no, I don't want that. It's like I don't even care if I don't even get to, it's like some of my views are only like 40, less than 100. I don't think I've had any video so far that's gotten more than 100. If that's all I get, yay! Because it helps it helps me. So if I never get anything, if I don't go anywhere, then I feel like this is putting it out there. It's me trying to put it out there. And that makes me feel better about me. Do I feel like I've tried as hard as I can? It's like, do I want to do that? Do I want to expend that kind of effort? Like, I've got to get up to this level. It's like, no. If I do happen to get to that level, then make changes, okay? Evaluate, change, figure out how I can change things up, how I can do things differently. But right now, the kind of takeaway I get from this is it just helps me focus how I'm thinking about things and what I would be happy about and what I feel in life makes life worth living. And again, there's something more to it. It's like just saying it or even just writing it down. I've said this before. Writing it down where it doesn't even go to anywhere, it's like it feels like that has an influence on more people than just me. It's like it's weird, but I see it. It's like, so there's something about that kind of thing. There's something about that kind of so this, even if it doesn't go anywhere, the possibility for it going makes me feel like it can go more. And I just, it's like that's a kind of manifesting. It's like you put that attribute into it. And that's the real thing about manifesting. It's like you put an action, you put an effort for it, and it's just like if the universe sees you doing well, then it gives you more. It puts in your mind how you can, like, that's the thing. You got to act on the ideas that come. It's like if you put a desire that you want more money. Well, if you don't start acting on the ideas that come to you to make that more money, then you're basically saying, no, thank you. I don't really want money. I'd rather be poor. So it's like the ideas, you got to act on the ideas. So if this puts it out there and it gets me in a mindset of thinking, okay, how could I do that better? How can I make that better? Then yeah, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to go for. And I think I'm going to stop here for now. My foot's falling asleep again, and I don't have back support today, and I feel like it's kept me excited and animated. Because I've watched back on some videos, and I just feel like I am just like I feel like I'm animated when I'm actually talking, but when I review it, it's like really dry and boring. I'm sure people realize that. They catch that. They go like, yeah, nope, that's not some click. Boring click. I do that with other people, and I don't care. I don't care if people do that to me. If you find me boring, click. Just I'm getting to that point where I'm putting my stuff out there, and if it doesn't work for other people, then hey, I've tried. And if I get ideas on how to try more, then yeah, I'm gonna put effort into those. But I'm not gonna like if it stresses me out so much, if it feels like it's just stressing me out, it's like no, bye, nope, I don't need this. It's not important. It's not. It's really not. Like I can let go, and people should be able to let go of me as well. It's like if you can turn off of me, it's like if you can take something from me, it's like that's what I'm after. I'd rather be on that kind of good balance point where, yeah, no, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, I got something out of it. That's good. Do I get something out of it? Yep, that's good. All right.